Ladies and gentlemen, we've all grown up with stories that end with those magical words, and they lived happily ever after. It sounds so perfect, so final, as if happiness is a destination you arrive at and never have to work for again. But as we step into the real world, we learn a truth that is both sobering and liberating. There is life beyond happily ever after. Happy ever after is not the end, it is only a beginning. You see, fairy tales teach us that once the wedding bells ring, or once the hero conquers the dragon, the story is complete. But real life reminds us that every ending is just the start of a new chapter. Love requires effort long after the vows are spoken. Success demands consistency long after the victory is celebrated. Dreams require nurturing long after the applause fades. Beyond happy ever after is where the real story unfolds. It is in the ordinary mornings when you choose patience over irritation. It is in the quiet evenings when you continue to believe in your partner, your purpose, or yourself, even when the excitement has dimmed. It is in the struggles, the failures, the doubts, and yet deciding to stay committed. True happiness is not a one-time prize, it is a daily practice. It is not about reaching a perfect state where life is flawless. It is about learning to embrace the messiness, the unpredictability, the struggles, and still choosing joy. Beyond happy ever after is where resilience is built, where character is tested, where love deepens, and where meaning is found. So today, I urge you to stop chasing the illusion of a perfect ending. Instead, embrace the journey that begins after the fairy tale. Choose to grow. Choose to fight for what matters. Choose to find beauty not just in the mountaintop victories, but also in the valleys where lessons are born. Because happiness is not an ending, it's a way of living. And the greatest story were those magical words. And they lived happily ever after. It sounds so perfect, so final, as if happiness is a destination you arrive at and never have to work for again. But as we step into the real world, we learn a truth that is both sobering and liberating. There is life beyond happily ever after. Happy ever after is not the end, it is only a beginning. You see, beyond happy ever after is where the real story unfolds. It is in the ordinary mornings when you choose patience over irritation. It is in the quiet evenings when you continue to believe in your partner, your purpose, or yourself, even when the excitement has dimmed. It is in the struggles, the failures, the doubts, and yet deciding to stay committed. True happiness is not a one-time prize. It is a daily practice. It is not about reaching a perfect state where life is flawless. It is about learning to embrace the messiness, the unpredictability, the struggles, and still choosing joy. Beyond happy ever after is where resilience is built, where character is tested, where love deepens, and where meaning is found. So today, I urge you to stop chasing the illusion of a perfect ending. Instead, embrace the journey that begins after the fairy tale. Choose to grow. Choose to fight for what matters. Choose to find beauty not just in the mountaintop victories, but also in the valleys where lessons are born. Because happiness is not an ending, it's a way of living, and the greatest story you will ever write is not about reaching happily ever after, but about what you choose to do beyond it. Love and success require continuous effort, one of the greatest misconceptions we inherit from fairy tales, and even from society's expectations, is the idea that once we achieve something, our work is done. Once we fall in love, it will stay magical forever. Once we land our dream job, life will remain fulfilling and easy. Once we reach a milestone, happiness will be automatic, but reality is different. Love, success, and even happiness require continuous effort. They are not trophies we put on a shelf and admire. They are living commitments that demand care, energy, and intentional action every single day. Let's begin with love. In the movies, the climax of romance is often the wedding or the moment two people confess their feelings. The credits roll, and we're left to assume that their love will carry itself effortlessly forever. But in real life, that's not how it works. Relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, need constant nurturing. Love is not just a feeling, it is a choice. It is choosing patience over irritation when your partner forgets something important. It is choosing kindness when disagreements arise. It is choosing to invest time and attention when life gets busy and distracting. Love grows when both people water it daily, like a delicate plant, neglect it, and it withers. Nurture it, and it thrives, deepening over time. The same truth applies to success. Many of us work hard to achieve our dreams, whether it's getting a degree, starting a business, winning a promotion, or reaching a personal milestone. In that moment of achievement, we feel victorious, but success is not the end of the journey. If anything, it is the beginning of a new level of responsibility. A degree is just the foundation. We must continue learning and applying knowledge. A business may start strong, but without innovation and consistent effort, it will decline. A promotion at work is not just recognition. It is an invitation to lead, to grow, and to give more than before. Think of success like climbing a mountain. Reaching the peak feels incredible, but the truth is, you cannot stay there forever. To live, you must keep moving. Sometimes you climb higher, sometimes you descend to climb again. The journey continues, and if you stop growing, stop adapting, or stop working, success slips away. Why does continuous effort matter so much? Because life is not static. Circumstances change, people change, and challenges never stop coming. Love and success must evolve with them. A couple who stops communicating may drift apart. A professional who stops learning may become irrelevant. A dreamer who stops putting in effort may lose momentum. Effort is the glue that holds love steady and the fuel that keeps success alive. But here's the encouraging part. Effort does not mean struggle without joy. It means being intentional. It means giving energy to the things you value most, knowing that the return is worth it. When you put effort into love, you build a bond that lasts through storms. When you put effort into success, you create a life of growth, purpose, and impact. The reward is not just the outcome. It is the strength, wisdom, and fulfillment you gain along the way. So, remember this. Falling in love is easy, but staying in love takes work. Achieving success is exciting, but sustaining it takes commitment. If you want relationships that endure and achievements that truly matter, you must be willing to put in the daily effort. Love and success are not one-time events. They are lifelong journeys, and every step of effort you give today lays the foundation for the joy, growth, and legacy you will enjoy tomorrow. Happiness is a daily practice, not a final destination. Many of us grow up believing that happiness is something we achieve once we arrive at a certain point in life. We say things like, "I'll be happy when I graduate," or "I'll be happy when I get that job, buy that house, or find the right partner." In other words, we treat happiness as if it's a prize waiting at the finish line of life's race. But the truth is this: happiness is not a destination you reach someday. It is a practice you cultivate every single day. Think about it. How many times have you achieved something you thought would finally make you happy, only to realize the feeling was temporary? That long-awaited promotion may have thrilled you at first, but after a few weeks, the excitement faded and the stress of new responsibilities took over. That big purchase, a car, a house, a gadget, may have brought joy initially, but soon enough it blended into your daily routine. This is called the arrival illusion, the mistaken belief that happiness lies in future achievements. It teaches us a valuable lesson. If we are not practicing happiness daily, no external achievement can give us lasting joy. Happiness, then, is a practice. It's in the small, consistent choices we make every day. It is found in gratitude, the ability to pause and appreciate what we already have instead of constantly longing for more. It is found in presence, choosing to live fully in the moment rather than regretting the past or obsessing about the future. It is found in kindness. When we give love and compassion, we feel it multiply within us. The beauty of treating happiness as a practice is that it frees us from the pressure of perfection. Life is not always easy. Challenges, heartbreaks, and failures will come. But happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the way we choose to respond to them. Someone who practices happiness daily learns to find light even in dark times. They can smile despite setbacks because they know joy is not tied to circumstance, but to perspective. Think of happiness like physical health. If you want to stay fit, you cannot exercise just once and expect to remain strong forever. You must move your body regularly, nourish yourself well, and take care of your habits daily. The same applies to happiness. It requires daily exercise for the mind and soul. Gratitude, journaling, mindful breathing, connecting with loved ones, appreciating nature, pursuing passions. These are like workouts that strengthen your happiness muscle. Another important truth is that happiness is deeply personal. What brings joy to one person may not work for another. Some find happiness in adventure, others in solitude, some in creating, others in serving. That is why happiness as a practice is not about following a universal formula. It is about discovering what truly nourishes your heart and making it a part of your everyday rhythm. And perhaps the most powerful part of practicing happiness daily is this. It allows you to stop waiting for life to be perfect before you can feel joy. You no longer postpone happiness until the next milestone. Instead, you begin to live fully right here, right now. So don't wait for happiness to arrive at the end of a fairy tale. Don't pin it on a someday that never comes. Choose to practice it in the simple moments. Laugh with a friend, take a quiet walk, say thank you more often, forgive quickly, and notice the little miracles that surround you every day. Because happiness is not a prize at the end of the story. It is the way we live the story itself. Growth happens in the struggles, not just in the victories if we look back at the stories that shaped us, fairy tales, myths, movies, and even the personal narratives we carry. There is one pattern we often overlook. The hero does not grow in the moment of triumph. The hero grows in the journey, in the trials, in the struggles that test their strength. Victories may be celebrated, but growth is forged in difficulty. And this truth extends far beyond stories. It is the essence of real life. When everything is going smoothly, we rarely pause to reflect, change, or deepen our character. Comfort has a way of lulling us into complacency. But when life places obstacles in our path, when we are forced to wrestle with failure, heartbreak, or uncertainty, that is when growth begins. Struggles stretch us in ways that comfort never can. They reveal hidden strength, demand resilience, and teach lessons that success alone cannot provide. Consider a seed buried in the soil. In the darkness, it struggles, pushing against the weight of the earth above it. That struggle is not a punishment. It is the very process that allows the seed to break open, grow roots, and eventually reach the light. In the same way, our struggles are the soil from which growth emerges. Without them, we would never develop the depth of wisdom or strength of character that shape us into who we are meant to be. Failures, too, are powerful teachers. They strip away illusions and force us to confront our limits. Yet, in doing so, they also reveal new paths, new strategies, and new possibilities. Think about the inventors, leaders, and dreamers we admire most. Almost every story of success is built on a foundation of failure. Edison tested thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Each failure was not wasted. It was a step toward growth. In our own lives, failures can feel like setbacks, but they are really setups for transformation. Struggles also teach us empathy. When we experience pain, loss, or disappointment, we develop a deeper understanding of others. We learn compassion not from victories, but from wounds. The people who inspire us most are often those who have walked through valleys and come out stronger, carrying the wisdom of their struggles to light the way for others. Yet, in a world that glorifies success, it is easy to view struggles as shameful or as signs of weakness. We hide our failures, mask our pain, and pretend that victory is all that matters. But if we look closely, we will see that our struggles are the very chapters of our story that shape our resilience, courage, and authenticity. They are not interruptions in our journey, they are the journey. The truth is, victories are fleeting. The applause eventually fades, the medals gather dust, the milestones become memories, but the growth you gain from struggle stays with you forever. It becomes part of who you are. Every challenge you overcome adds a layer of strength to your character, a depth to your perspective, and a resilience to your spirit. So, the next time you find yourself in the middle of struggle, resist the urge to see it as wasted time. Instead, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How am I growing through this? Victory may be on the horizon, but the transformation is happening right now. And the challenge in the fight, in the perseverance. Because in the end, it is not just our victories that define us. It is the struggles we faced, the lessons we learned, and the growth we embraced along the way. That is where the real strength of our story lies. Life beyond happy ever after is the real story fairy tales, movies, and even many of the stories we tell ourselves love to end with the phrase, happily ever after. It's neat, it's comforting, and it suggests that once the big moment happens, whether it's love found, a dream achieved, or a battle won, life becomes perfect and unchanging, but reality teaches us something different. The real story is not in the happily ever after ending. The real story is what happens beyond it. Why? Because happily ever after is only a snapshot, a single frame in a much larger film. Life does not freeze when you achieve something you've long desired. If anything, life accelerates, love deepens, responsibilities grow, challenges evolve, and new questions arise. In truth, the chapters that follow happily ever after are the ones that define who we truly are. Take love as an example. Stories often end with the wedding day, as if the couple rides off into a sunset of eternal bliss. But those who have lived in long-term relationships know that the real love story starts after the vows. Marriage is not the final chapter. It is the beginning of countless new chapters filled with decisions, challenges, joys, and sometimes hardships. The laughter shared in the kitchen, the arguments that teach compromise, the loyalty shown in times of illness or struggle. These are the stories that matter. They are not glamorous or fairy tale, perfect, but they are authentic. They are where real love is written. The same applies to personal achievement. Graduating, starting a career, or achieving a major dream can feel like a storybook ending. Yet what follows is often more important than the achievement itself. How do you use your education to contribute meaningfully to the world? How do you sustain a business once the initial excitement has faded? How do you remain motivated when success becomes routine? These questions are answered in the beyond, not in the milestone moment. Even in personal growth, the idea of a single destination is misleading. Many of us believe that once we find ourselves or heal from past wounds, the story is complete, but growth is ongoing. Healing is a process, not a permanent end point. Life will continue to test us with new challenges, and in those tests, we discover new strengths, new perspectives, and new versions of ourselves. The real story is in the unfolding, not in the finish line. What makes the beyond so powerful is that it is unpredictable. We don't get a neat, scripted ending. Instead, we are handed blank pages and invited to keep writing. This can feel intimidating, but it is also deeply empowering. It means we are not bound by one moment of victory or one definition of success. We can reinvent, rediscover, and reimagine ourselves over and over again. Think about the people you admire most. Their legacy is rarely defined by one big achievement. It is defined by how they lived after it, the consistency, the resilience, the way they navigated challenges, the love they gave, and the lives they touched. Their beyond is their true story, so perhaps it's time we let go of the illusion that happiness or success is a final ending. Instead, we can embrace the truth. Life beyond happy ever after is where authenticity lives. It's where ordinary moments shape extraordinary meaning. It's where challenges make us stronger, where love becomes deeper, and where we continue to grow long after the credits should have rolled. Your story is not defined by one ending. It is defined by every choice you make after it. That is the real story. and it is far more powerful than any fairy tale ending could ever be. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have explored today, the idea of happily ever after is comforting, but it is incomplete. Real life is not about reaching one perfect ending and staying there forever. Instead, it is about what happens after the ending, what happens in the choices we make, the struggles we endure, the love we nurture, and the happiness we practice every day. We've learned that happily ever after is not the end, but the beginning. Every milestone in life, whether in love, career, or personal growth, is not a finish line, but a doorway to new chapters waiting to be written. We've seen that love and success require continuous effort. They do not thrive automatically. They need attention, intention, and persistence to remain alive and meaningful. We've discovered that happiness is not a final destination, but a daily practice. It is not something we postpone until the future. It is something we choose in gratitude, kindness, and presence today. We've recognized that growth happens in the struggles, not just in the victories. Our challenges are not interruptions to our story. They are the very chapters that shape us into who we are meant to become. And finally, we've embraced the truth that life beyond happy ever after is the real story. The moments after the applause fades, after the milestones are reached, after the fairy tale has ended, those are the moments where real love, real strength, and real meaning are found. So, my friends, let us stop chasing the illusion of a flawless ending. Instead, let us step boldly into the beyond. Let us write stories filled with courage, resilience, compassion, and joy. Not because life is perfect, but because we choose to live it fully, even when it is imperfect. Your happily ever after is not the end of your story. It is just the beginning of the greatest chapters still to come. Thank you.